One reason that I was lucky in going to public schools is that I had the community behind me where I grew up. And it's very important, as Tanya asked, that we get parents involved. We need to have the whole community involved. You know, Hillary Clinton, a long time ago, wrote a book that said it takes a village. And it actually is true. So what you need is you need to have parent-teacher associations involved in the schools. You need to have parents working with teachers. And you need to have students engage with other students. One problem that we have right now in this community is that we have a 700-seat school shortage. So we're short 700 seats. Now what does that mean, Tanya? That means that you have a lot of children who need to be bused or who need to commute to other locations. I was in Seward Park a few weeks ago, and I was talking to a parent there, and his child has to commute 30 minutes away to school. Now, how can you expect that parent to be involved in school when that parent has a job and where his child is going to a school that's 30 minutes away? Because as it is, the parent has to wake up extra early just to get the child to school. I was talking to a parent on the west side at a farmer's market just last week. Their child has to be bused 1 hour all the way around Lower Manhattan to another school. And that parent works as well. So again, it's difficult to have parents involved when you don't have people going to their community schools. So what we need to do is we need to have more community schools where parents actually can be involved, and that will go a long way to making this happen, Tanya.
So I would implement funds so that children can actually get the help they need for the assessment tests. Right now, in I believe it's Stuyvesant High School, there's only 5 African Americans in a high school. This is not 1950. This is not 1950. Am I right, Mr. Berman? No, there's actually 5. You can Google it right now. There's 5 or 6 African Americans because why? There's not a shortage of people of color. What there is not enough help for people of color to pass these tests. Maybe they have a single parent mom that works all day and they don't have anyone to help them with their schoolwork. It takes a village. We need to participate in our youth because our youth is our future. We all know that Donald Trump is not the future, but our youth, we have to invest in our future. So I would create funding for children to get some kind of help that they need to pass these tests. Because right now, these schools are too segregated. And we live in the best city in the world, New York City. New York City should never have one thing of anything, okay? They should never be one race of anything. This is not 1950, okay? This is 2017. We need to get with the program.
I believe diversity is extremely important, especially when it comes to education. Going to PS20, where I was interacting with Bangladeshis, Asian Americans, African Americans, it actually inspired me for in college to actually go to China. So it motivated a Dominican kid from the Lower East Side to go all around the world because my education was diverse. And so as a city council person, I would be an advocate for controlled choice so then we can actually bring back diversity to our schools. Thank you.
Thank you. And did you have, sorry? Thank you. Did you have a question, ma'am? Stand up here. Stand up
here. You know, a lot of us in the neighborhood, we're distrusting of, who I'm talking to this?
Yeah.
A lot of us in the neighborhood, we're very distrusting of the politicians because, you know, our quality of life is being threatened every day on the Lower East Side. through construction, through my park on Forsyth Street is filthy. They say call 311. The police at night, it's like it's the nightlife down here. And I recently heard that de Blasio is going to get a commissioner for the nightlife. But what about us? We're woken up in the morning with construction, and it's appalling to us who've lived in this neighborhood. It's like this young lady said, my daughter just finished, she got her master's, and she has to move out of the neighborhood because she can't find a guidance counselor job. What is gonna happen to us in the neighborhood when all these high-risers are built up and then they push us out because we're too old to fight? But we need you in this neighborhood. We need the younger generation. So I wanna understand. Here. Should I answer it? I'll answer it. I know what to say.
I completely agree, especially on Forsyth Street. I grew up going to Saturday Roosevelt Park, and now when you walk by there on Staten and Forsyth, you see drugs, you see crimes, and that's not the community that we built. I actually live 2 blocks away. And so it's putting control on the liquor licenses that are happening in Hell Square, on Ludlow and Staten. It's making sure that these hotels that are being built, like the public, respect our neighbors and our neighborhoods. And it's having a city council person that's gonna stand with residents. When 10 Staten Street, when the residents outspoke against what they were seeing from public, I actually went door to door and talked to residents. And I was on Channel 11 saying that this is not acceptable. And so it's having someone, whether it be a resident or a city council person, to stand up when they see something that's happening that's wrong. This is a residential neighborhood and we have to keep it like that. And so I completely agree with everything you said.
I appreciate the questioning. Can you tell me your name, ma'am? Deborah? Well, I appreciate your question, Deborah. And one thing I learned about you from your question, Deborah, you're not too old to fight. So can you all join me in giving Deborah a round of applause for her question today? And I understand, Deborah, your skepticism of politicians because you have been promised so much over the years. And you've been given so little. And that's why I'm running. I'm not a career politician. Like Margaret Chin. Margaret Chin, she stood up 4 years ago and said, I promise I will not run for a 3rd term. What's she doing now? She's running again. So, and it's about time that someone not just fights for crumbs for this community, but actually something real. You all in this room tonight, you are humble people. You don't ask for much from the government. And so what you get, you're grateful for. And I have one of Margaret Chin's newsletters here. How many of you guys get Margaret Chin's newsletters in the mail? So she attempts to tout her accomplishments, and I'm looking at a few of them here. She got $75,000 for new whiteboards, electronic whiteboards in a school. $40,000 for MacBooks. You know, a little money, $165,000 for a new common area somewhere. And that's all fine stuff, ladies and gentlemen, but that is peanuts. It's not. New York City has a budget of $8.5 billion, more than many countries. And I ask you tonight, where's the money going? So it's about time that we stand up and fight for something real and not just more crumbs. We need real reform, and that's why I, Aaron Foldenauer, am running.
Well, I just want to say I am not a politician, and I believe that the political system is broken, which is why I'm running to be a political game changer. I believe that the fish rots from the head down. I think corruption is rampant, from Donald Trump to de Blasio to all of them, okay? At the end of the day, de Blasio is a developer's prostitute. We all know that, okay? And Margaret Chin is not far behind that, okay? She's one of the higher ups. At the end of the day, we need to work with the constituents. We need to create affordable housing that's affordable to this area, to the AMI in this area. We need to look out for each other. We need to look out for our future. We need to take care of our past. I'm looking at him. I'm older than him. We need to take care of our past. Right now on the waterfront, predominantly most of those people are Asian and they're elderly. They will be displaced in the next 3 to 5 years if we do not get a rein on this overdevelopment right now. Development is good, but not at the cost of people, okay? Development is good, but not when they're predatory equity deals. Development is good, but not when we're taking and taking and taking and not giving anything back. This is our history. We need to fight for our history. Whether you are rich or poor, you will be affected by this. Because when the development happens and you take all the working class out of the area, guess what? You don't get federally funded anymore. Guess what? Your schools close. Guess what? Things that you need, they're no longer there. Services are not there. People are homeless. You go from being in a home to a shelter. Guess what happens after that? Crime rises. Guess what happens out of that? People move out of the city, okay? So let's stop this right now. Let's get a rein on what's going on here, because what's going on here is going to be a legacy of displacement for de Blasio and for Margaret Chin. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You know what? We're out of time right now, so I know people have other questions, and I really want to respect that. But we're gonna, we only have the space for a little bit longer. So if you want to ask the candidates the questions, we also have put together a handy sheet with social media contacts, and all the candidates here have agreed to answer them on social media, so that everyone who didn't make it tonight or who had to go to something else can, and it actually includes Margaret Chin's social media contact too, so we encourage you to reach out to her too and get some answers to the, to some questions that we discussed tonight. Right, and it clearly, everyone here is very concerned about these issues. We see it happening in our neighborhood, and we want to do something about it. And I want to thank the candidates for coming and spending their time to answer these questions. And we're trying to be a voice in this community that's different from the current administration. And I really want to thank the panel members for being such strong